Citizen Vigilante has one villain type, almost every time. Migrants. Not criminals, not gang members, migrants. Coded, dressed, and scripted the same way, scene after scene. Elon Musk gave this film away for free to 240 million people. Most of them never ask why the villains all look the same. Variety reported this pattern directly. National Review reported it directly. Newsweek put this film next to Supergirl and called both dangerous. For opposite reasons. Nobody hid this. It just never reached the people scrolling past matters
right now. This film isn't some obscure festival release nobody will see. It hit #1 on Apple TV, #1 on Amazon Prime. A sitting billionaire posted the entire movie for free to his entire platform for 48 hours straight. That's not a niche movie moment. That's a cultural event happening in plain sight. And most people engaging with it have no idea what critics actually found when they broke it down scene by scene. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what Variety flagged. You'll know which scene sparked the sharpest backlash. You'll know why Germany refused to even give this film a rating, a move that country reserves for extreme cases. No spin. Just what critics, regulators, and the film's own marketing already put on the record. Director Uwe Boll built this film around one core image. A vigilante, played by Armie Hammer, hunts criminals, rapists, and corrupt officials. That's the marketing language. Sounds generic enough. But Variety's own coverage confirms what that language is hiding. Most of those criminals are migrants. Not occasionally. Consistently. That's not subtext buried in a background shot. That's the premise driving the entire plot. Boll has said publicly that this film sits in the tradition of Death Wish and Dirty Harry, two of the most famous vigilante films ever made. Fair comparison on the surface. But here's what breaks that comparison apart. Those films built their villains around crime itself. Muggers, gang violence, urban decay as a broad idea. Citizen Vigilante narrows that lens. It builds its entire villain roster around one ethnic and religious group. That's a deliberate choice. Not an accident of casting, not a coincidence of location shooting in Croatia. Think about how casting works in a film like this. Every antagonist needs a face, an accent, a costume department decision. Those choices don't happen by accident on a $2 million budget. Someone made them on purpose, scene after scene, because the pattern needed to hold for the film's entire runtime. Boll himself has talked about the film's origin. He said it was inspired by a real case out of Hamburg, a brutal assault where the attackers walked away with suspended sentences. That's a real tragedy. Nobody's disputing that part. But here's the leap the film makes that the real case never required. A single specific tragedy gets stretched into a pattern covering an entire film. One scene gets cited more than any other in every serious review of this film. A rapist's parents defend their son. Their defense? They say they raised him on the values of the Quran. Read that again. That's not a throwaway line buried in a busy scene. That's a deliberate screenwriting choice, placed at a moment designed to make the audience remember it. Variety's review didn't dance around it. They called the writing prejudiced screeds. That's not my interpretation. That's the language used by the trade publication that has covered this director's entire career, film after film for 2 decades. And it's not just critics reacting. Regulators reacted too. Germany denied this film a rating entirely. Not an R rating, not a restricted release, no rating at all. That single decision means no theatrical release in German cinemas, no advertising, no retail shelf space in most stores. That's the strongest signal a European regulatory body can send about a film's content. Countries don't deny ratings over generic violence. They deny ratings when content crosses a line regulators consider genuinely harmful. So we have a trade publication calling the writing prejudiced. We have a national regulator refusing to rate the film at all. 2 very different institutions, same conclusion. That overlap is exactly the kind of detail that gets lost once a film goes viral for the wrong reasons. Compare that to how most controversial films actually get treated. Even genuinely brutal, graphic films usually still get a rating somewhere in Europe. Restricted, but rated. A denial is rarer. It signals that regulators saw something beyond graphic content, something in the framing itself. And remember, Germany didn't ban this quietly. The decision became part of the film's own marketing conversation, repeated by outlets covering the story on both sides. Critics of the film pointed to it as proof. Supporters of the film pointed to it as proof of censorship.
Almost nobody explained what a ratings denial actually means procedurally, or why it's different from a standard restricted.
Here's where the story gets genuinely interesting. This film has almost no middle ground in who's defending it and who's attacking it. On one side, Alex Jones praised it. Milo Yiannopoulos praised it. And Musk didn't stop at praise. He posted the entire movie on X, free, for 48 hours to hundreds of millions of followers. On the other side, Variety called it morally bankrupt. Straightforward language, no hedging. But here's the detail most coverage skips entirely. National Review, a conservative outlet, not a left-leaning one, refused to even call this a conservative film. Their review described it as right-wing talking points wearing a costume, a film borrowing the aesthetics of a political movement without the substance behind it. Think about what that means. When the loudest public praise comes from one specific political lane, and the sharpest, most pointed criticism comes from inside conservative media itself, that's not a coincidence. That's a film that overplayed its hand so badly it alienated the very audience it was built to please. Most viral moments don't survive that kind of internal contradiction. This one did, because the controversy generated more attention than the content ever could have earned on its own. Look at the numbers behind that attention. Bull himself has said the film made roughly $600,000 in digital sales against a $2 million budget. Those aren't blockbuster numbers. Those are numbers that would sink most independent films without a trace. What kept this film in headlines wasn't box office performance. It was the fight over what the film meant.
Newsweek ran a piece comparing Citizen Vigilante directly to Supergirl, released the same season, built on completely opposite politics. Their point wasn't which film is better made or better reviewed. Their point was sharper than that. Both films let their heroes kill without real consequence. Both films frame that killing as morally necessary,
except for the greater good.
Citizen Vigilante just makes its targets explicit, where other films leave them vague. Migrants, coded as dangerous by default, positioned as the threat the hero exists to eliminate. That's the part most viewers missed entirely. Not because it was hidden, because they encountered this film through a free download on a billionaire's timeline. Not through a film critic's breakdown, not through a regulator's ruling, not through the trade press that actually does this analysis for a living. The controversy was never buried in some secret Easter egg. It was published, on the record, by outlets with decades of credibility. It just never reached the audience that mattered most, the people forming an opinion in real time based on a headline and a free link. That gap between what critics documented and what casual viewers actually saw, that's the real story here. And it's worth naming why that gap exists in the first place. Trade reviews and regulatory rulings don't travel at the same speed as a free download from a platform with hundreds of millions of users. One moves through institutions built for scrutiny. The other moves through an algorithm built for speed. By the time serious analysis catches up to a film like this, most of the audience has already formed an opinion and moved on to the next headline. That's not a flaw specific to this movie. That's the pattern for almost every controversial release now.
You want the full breakdown of how critics are reading Supergirl against this exact film? That comparison video is live right now. Go watch it!